Previously on Unfiltered Heart Talks.
I always say, forgive yourself first. And when you forgive yourself and free yourself, your heart will be unknotted and loose, and you can then forgive the next person. But don't try to forgive them before you forgive yourself.
The social media connection, everything. You need to delete those photos. You need to stop peeking on the social media, stop peeking on the Instagram.
I had to look at everything when he had filed for divorce, and I had the time to be away. Every moment that went by, I realized that I was being set free. It was such a relief. It was such a relief. And I could have gone back and say, you know what, for the sake of the children, let's just work this out. Let's just work this out. But as I've mentioned before and I've stressed before, when two people are willing to do the work on themselves and bring their best to the table, they can cross any stream. Anybody can cross it at that point, right? But if not, if a one person do it, you're going to cross and leave the other person behind. Or them are going to cross and leave you behind. So when I left that relationship, I had time to sit, at least through the divorce process or through the separation. I had time to sit, and every day that went by, I realized how much I didn't want this. It wasn't healthy for me. It wasn't healthy for the children. And I was not going to be that woman that decided that she was going to keep her family together just so it can look good to say that we've been married for 40 years. Not me. Me not so desperate to look good on paper and on camera. So thinking about the best thing for my children and everything, I decided that in file for divorce, I'm leaving. Even though I did a beg and a text and a say, let us work this out and I love you and I didn't mean all that. Me say I'm in a business. Me say your file for you to accept it. I am so happy. I am so happy. I am so happy. I was, jeez.
As you talk about you having the time and space to really sit down and reflect, that is so important to the healing process. And again, going back to disconnecting yourself from the past connections that you have with your partner, the photo, like whatever thing, there are certain things that you will not be able to disconnect from, like where children are involved. But as much as possible, you want to disassociate yourself.
Absolutely.
And that will help with the healing process. But time and space is so important. And one of the things that I see happen a lot of times, which I think contributes negatively to relationship, is that people leave relationships. They were broken or they are broken. Then they get into another relationship, not being fully healed.
Yeah.
Not having the time to sit to think, because whether you like to believe so or not, the trauma you suffer from one relationship, it stays with you for a very long time. And it helps to shape the person who you become for the next relationship that you want to enter into. It also helps to shape your worldview or your outlook or your perspective and future relationships. And the opposite sex, if it's a woman coming out of a traumatic relationship, then her perspective on a man can be
a little warped.
By the past
experiences.
As well as for a man, the same can happen. What happens is if you don't take the time to heal, then you're entering into a next relationship as a broken individual. And many times you take up broken people and you think that you can fix them. The biggest mistake you can make in the dating world is to take up someone who is broken, whether it is for a man or a woman. The biggest mistake you can make is taking up someone who is broken from a past relationship or who is suffering from trauma from a past relationship, you cannot in no way, shape, or form fix that person.
That's true.
That's one mistake that I made, in my past, trying to fix someone who was broken. Because what happens is that a lot of times you end up losing yourself, losing your identity. You lower your barriers, you lower your standard, you lower the boundaries to facilitate certain types of behavior, because you understand that this person has had a rough past, or they have had trauma that they're suffering from their past relationship. So in an effort to facilitate their feelings and emotion, let me lower the bars a little bit.
Yeah.
Let me lower the standards a little bit, just so that they can feel comfortable, just so that they can understand that I am here for them and I am not like the other person that they have been with.
Wow.
A lot of times people end up losing respect for you in that process of you trying to play God. And once respect is lost, it cannot be restored, So it's very important for broken people. Everybody broken.
Yes.
Everybody is psychologically troubled, And when you think about it, like, there is no one individual who have gone through life and have never gone through a traumatic experience.
That's true. That's true.
And every traumatic experience you go through, it shapes the person you have become. So taking the time out to heal properly is very, very important. And another thing, as before, it is very important to know that one person whom you have been with is not the ideal for every other person you will meet in your future.
That's true.
So you have to give that grace where that is necessary as well.
Yes. And this is another thing too. A lot of people have faced or experienced parental traumas. So in my past relationship, I think it was more of that. The dynamic of his mother and his father, and him trying to recreate that in his own home, right? And I believe that whereas you might have a girlfriend or a boyfriend, or you have a 1 or 2 year marriage, the traumatic effects that are experienced from seeing your parents in a relationship or seeing how they would have interacted with you, it's more indelibly etched in your being and in your cell, and it will follow into your other relationships, your intimate relationship, if it goes unchecked, if that makes sense, right? So whereas you would have gone through one traumatic relationship with this one girl, or me go through one traumatic relationship with this one guy, it lasts 1 or 2 years, tops, 1 or 2 years tops. But the trauma that you experience behind the scenes with your parents for the last 18 to 25 years lodge deeper. So it's not just intimate relationships, right? Sometimes the people that are broken, that are coming to you, are not broken from a past intimate relationship. They're broken from the relationship that they witnessed in their homes.
That happens too.
Yeah.
That happens too. But, a lot of times people go through, especially for men, because I would hope and I believe in most cases, women do have a strong support system. Maybe not all women, of course not all women, but a lot of women do have a strong support system where trauma and grief is concerned. Men sometimes believe that when they suffer trauma from a broken relationship, that they do not need to talk about it. And a lot of times you realize that you have all of this bottled up emotion that you suffer from one relationship and you carry it over to a next relationship. And then by the time you realize, you have become so rigid and hard as an individual, almost emotionless. Or you might just be that guy who gives each girl that comes your way a taste of the remedy. I don't even know if I should call it remedy, but a taste of the trauma that you would have suffered from past relationship. And of course, I know that men are not the only ones who, go through the recurring cycle or continues the cycle, but I know women do also, But it's very important for men and women to know and understand that when you have suffered trauma, embracing the pain, embracing the anger, embracing the feelings is so important. If you want to grieve, you grieve. Grieving is a part of the healing process, you know. So it's very important to remember that grieving is a part of the healing process. So when you're going through your traumatic experiences, you feel that built up of emotion rushing through your veins or through your body, and you feel like crying, cry. You know, if you feel like you want to talk about it, because these things are also important for healing as well.
That's true.
You know, I do not have much that I want to talk about on this topic. I'm not sure if you have anything else you want to share.
Yes, I just want to share a few of the things that I wrote and just reinforce them.
Right.
So realize your choice and hand in the matter. So yes, you were part of a traumatic relationship, but how did you get there? What part did you play in being a part of that relationship? Realize that that's important. Acknowledge your faults and start to process the idea of forgiving yourself. I believe it is important to forgive yourself first, forgive them second, right? Throw up all the pent up hate that you have about the person. Because most times it's not about them, it's about you. You're disappointed. How could I allow myself to get to this point? How did I get myself into this relationship? How did I not see the red flags? I remember beating up myself a lot, looking back. I say, how in the world did I not see this? And why did I endure all this? For what? Just for peace sake, just to have the relationship, right? And then refocus your mind, refocus your mind. If you have to block, delete, disconnect, I am queen of doing that. If this person is the type that will pester you and, try to get back at you and taunt you, block, delete, move forward and keep your mind focused. If it's not like that and you're the one that might want to go back, as my husband just said, don't do it. Delete the pictures, stop stalking, refocus your mind, refocus, because you're not going to move forward from that past relationship if you're not ready and if you've not acknowledged that you need to move forward. You have anything
And lastly, pray. Prayer is key.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people might say, what does prayer have to do with? A lot of us can acknowledge the fact that when we were going through the trauma, when we were seeing those red flags, we prayed those prayers and God did answer. The same way how he answered those prayers when you asked for the red flags, the signs, and he gave them to you, he does give you the signs when it comes to healing. He does give you the comfort, and he does show you the direction, the path on which to take. A lot of people can say that, hey, I was stalking the Instagram, but then I prayed and God helped me. So prayer is very important. So I do encourage people to pray, be strong, believe in yourself. There are good men who exist out there and there are good women, and that's true on both sides of the coin.
Another thing too, a lot of times, I remember when I was going through my experience and I realized what I was experiencing, the emotional abuse, because as I said before, I never know say emotional abuse is a thing, I just thought that once somebody lick in your face or bust up your mouth, that is considered abuse. I did not know that there were levels to this thing. So when I realized that emotional abuse was a thing and it was something that I was experiencing, and that the drainage of the relationship and the gaslighting and the manipulation and all that stuff, I'm like, yo, this is a whole world of things. And then I learned the big N word, narcissist. To heal, I know if you've gone through anything similar to what I've gone through, you are probably going down the rabbit hole of learning about narcissists and how to outsmart them and how to communicate with them and how to gray rock and all that stuff. That information is valuable. However, there comes a time you have to stop ingesting that information. I used to listen to the Dr. Ramani and all the other people with their personal experiences. And I used to just consume that content. And I realized after a while, when I was actually healing and I was growing and I was moving past that stage, when I would open my YouTube and it would pull up one of Dr. Ramani's videos or somebody else's experience in a narcissistic relationship, how it would take me back to a dark place. It would make my heart race all over again. It would just do all this stuff. If you are currently in that phase where you're researching and all the light bulbs are going off in your head because you're like, oh my God, what I was going through was a thing and I wasn't crazy. After you get through that phase, stop watching those videos, because I'm telling you, it will keep you in the cycle. They're good for a time, but stop watching them after a time. Take the knowledge, store them somewhere in your brain, and move on, because it will keep dragging you down. As good as that information is, it will keep dragging you down. And no, not everybody's a narcissist. So stop. But you're going to get out of that phase too. Did we dive deep enough? If not, let us know. Do you have any questions? Please leave those questions in the comment section. I felt like I was not able to dig deep into this topic, but this is just a broad overview of what I would give my younger self, you know? But if you have any specific questions, guys, please go ahead and leave them in the comment section. Healing not easy.
Right. And so we want to encourage you guys to give us that support as we seek to build a community that is open, that is raw, that is unfiltered, where we can have these heartfelt conversations about relationship, marriage, remarriage, divorce, and the ins and outs and everything in between. Stay tuned. See you guys on the next one.